Welcome to Graves County High School. My name is Matt Dobson, and I'm the Freshman Academy Principal for Graves County High School, and I will be your principal next year. With me up here, and we've got some people still filtered in, that's fine. With me up here is the Freshman Academy Counselor, Miss Leanne Rodgers. And what we're going to do here over the next few minutes, we're going to kind of give you an introduction to the high school as well as a little help in getting ready to do some scheduling here pretty quick, because we're getting ready to get into the scheduling of your classes for next year. First of all, let's talk about the high school. Y'all got a kind of a brief tour of our freshman mentors this morning of the high school. You got the building. Of course, we have out there by the football field is our other facilities, and as well as Elite Academy. And those are the areas where most of your classes will take place, which you saw day in and out there as well, whether it be PE or if you are going to Elite Academy or whatnot. Our junior ROTC program is out there as well. And I know some of you will want to be taking advantage of that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? As we go through the process, it's going to be very important for you to pay attention. We're going to be throwing a lot of stuff at you. I'm not going to lie. We're going to throw a lot of stuff at you, and it can get confusing. So if you have a question, as we're going through, jot it down. And here at the end, we'll try to field any questions that we can. You have, or you should have right now, this right here, which is our curriculum guide. This lists all the classes that we have. We're going to be referencing it a few times during this presentation. And you'll also have this, which is your course request form. If there's anyone that does not have both of these, raise your hand right now. Excellent. Okay. You also right now need to have something to write with, because you're going to be filling out a few things as we go along, okay? Before I turn this over to Ms. Rodgers, I will remind you that these curriculum guides that we gave you, they are in limited supply. So you're only going to be able to have one. We can't give extras out because we had to print enough for not only you, but also for our other class students here at the high school that they're going to use to register for next year as well. So do not lose that curriculum guide, all right? All right, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rodgers, and we're going to kind of talk to you. I'll jump in from time to time and tell you a few things as we go.
And again, I want to thank the freshman mentors for taking you guys on the tour. They had missed their first period class, and of course this time of the year they don't like to be out of class a lot because there's a lot of material that they missed. And a lot of them had to go on back because it's time for our second period, so some of them left. But if they were juniors, then you're probably going to see them this summer at our orientation and in your first period class next year. Of course, if they're seniors, you probably won't be seeing them. They'll move on, but we'll have a new group of mentors that will help you. So they work with you a lot over the summer and at the first of the school year. So thanks again, mentors. Appreciate it. Okay, in your curriculum guide, the very first thing I want to make sure you do with your writing utensil, it's on the very front page and the inside cover, please write your name on there. Because hopefully you won't leave that anywhere, but if you do, your name's on there, your teachers can get that to the right person, because like you said, we don't give you an extra copy of these. We just don't have enough for that. I'll give Ms. Williams a few for any students that were not here today, but that will be it. And of course you need this during your registration process. So make sure you put your name on that first sheet. As my PowerPoint says, the curriculum guide is an excellent resource to use to help in planning your academic future. So you'll be looking at this guide, and you should be using that to help you think about the next 4 years of your school career. Of course, we start with your freshman year, but you need to be thinking ahead as well. Okay, the course request sheet on page 1. This is what you'll be filling out and discussing with your teachers over the next few weeks. And we'll talk more about that later. But I want you to pay close attention to the top where you put your name, and of course, for your grade, you're going to put grade 9 because this is for your 9th grade year. Maybe that makes you feel good to put 9 on there. You're almost a high school student. Okay, your advisor, we'll get that to you later. They will be calling you, contacting you for you and your parents to come up to the high school and meet with them, talking about the things that you're going to put on this page for next year.
Ms. Rodgers, I just want to jump in real quick and say, a lot of you will probably be getting a call toward the end of this week from your advisor. If not the end of this week, the first of next week. If for some reason we get to next Wednesday and you haven't gotten a call from anybody, you need to tell your teachers, and they need to be letting me know, okay? Because my teachers are supposed to be calling you end of this week, first of next week. And we will have a night or a couple of nights up here that we try to have as many teachers as we can stay. And those nights are probably going to be not next week, but the very next week. So we will have people scheduling for classes as early as 2 weeks from today. Okay?
We call that our registration window. That means that that's the period of time that the teacher has to get in touch with you to meet with your parents. So our window opens on February 25th and it closes on March 21st. So technically they have that amount of time to get in touch with you. Don't panic. Don't just go crazy that you're not going to get your classes if they don't call you right away. Sometimes it takes a little while. Sometimes they don't have the right numbers and we have to look through Infinite Campus and find the right number to get in touch with you. There will be a point at the middle school that me and Ms. Williams, if you have not heard anything by that point, let's just wait till then and be patient. But they will get in touch with you. If not, then I usually come over and meet with you at the middle school. So I just want you to know just to kind of be patient on that. But we will give you a homeroom advisor. It's your new homeroom teacher or your advisor, and they're the ones that will meet with you. Okay, so on this top part, you don't really have a major yet because you're a freshman, but in the Career Academy, you're going to be Freshman Academy, so you can put that in there. If you'll notice, the page is divided into 3 separate categories. You have your required classes at the top, your electives, and then your alternatives. So if you would, just pencil in, just to kind of help you out as you're thinking about this, for your required classes, you can possibly see, I have just penciled in my course title. I put English 1, Math, Social Studies, and Science. So those are your core classes. So it's English, Math, Social Studies, and Science. So you know that's 4 classes right away that you're going to have your English, Math, Social Studies, and Science. So those are your 4 required courses that you have to have. Then in your elective column, these are just kind of notes for you. Okay, it's English, Math, Social Studies, and Science. So there should be 4 classes there that you know you're going to have those every year, no matter what. Then in your second column under electives, and these are just little notes for you, I put in one of my first lines, CTE, the letters C, T, and E. CTE. That's my first one. And then my second line, I put foreign language. And I don't even have to spell it all out. I just put FOR period, LANG period. Okay, so you're under required, you have English, Math, Social Studies, and Science. And then in your electives, you have CTE, foreign language. If you don't have it in there perfect, that's fine. These are just things, tips and clues to help you. And you can get it from your neighbor later. Okay, at the very bottom of the page, kind of over to the right under alternatives, I want you to put a big 7 and circle it. Big number 7 and circle it. Anywhere on the page, just a 7 and circle it. Okay, so let me talk to you about that. Don't worry, teachers, if they don't have it exactly right, that's fine. This is just to kind of help them out. Okay, so when you're filling this out, you are going to have to take this to your teachers in their classes. And you will ask them, okay, I have to take an English class next year. What class do you recommend that I take? So your current English teacher will have to write their recommendation in there. They might recommend English 1. They might recommend pre-AP English 1. Or if it's Social Studies, they might recommend World Civ. They might recommend AP class for that. So they would write that in, and your current teacher will initial that. Okay, so the reason why we have them to do this is because when you're coming to the high school, this gives your 8th grade teachers their opportunity to let us know what they think that you're capable of. That doesn't mean that's what you have to take. If your teacher says that, yes, I think they should take AP class, and your parents and you decide no, that you're not going to, those are the decisions that will be made in that advising session. It's not necessarily what has to happen. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But the final decisions will be resting with your parents and you guys in that meeting. Okay, so we want those recommendations, and they are good to have, but again, the final decision rests with that meeting. Okay, so that's what they're going to initial. Now, there are some electives and classes we're going to talk about in a minute that also require recommendations, and those signatures will be here for things like band or other classes like that that need teacher recommendation, and that's in the curriculum guide.
Okay, so Ms. Rodgers, just to be clear, I want everybody to understand, if I want pre-AP or I want band and I come to that meeting without a signature, am I going to get it?
Well, that depends. We'll have to look at the data we have. It'll be a tough decision. It will be difficult at that point because we won't really know. With some classes like English, we have the Lexile information and things like that. So there are some pieces of data that we will have, but it just makes the decision a little more difficult. So it is important that you do have this information. Of course, nothing's ever perfect, but that is the best case scenario.
We're not ever, if you, let's just say you go through the process and you did not necessarily get a recommendation for AP European history, okay? You did not get a recommendation for it, but you really want to do it, your parents really want you to do it. What we will do in that meeting is we'll present you with, the requirements of the class. And it's a pretty rigorous course load. And after hearing all of that, if you still decide that you want to do it, we, even though we've advised you how rigorous it is, if you feel like you can still do it, we will allow you to register for it. Now understand this, registering for a class does not mean that you get a class. I'm glad you asked that question because I want to show this to you right here. See at the bottom it says alternates. There's so many of you, and the teachers can only teach so many sections that what we have to do is we have to try to work a schedule for each and every one of you. And sometimes that means that your schedule may not work out where you get an elective that you want. So what you're going to need to do is whenever you fill out your course request form, you're also going to need to fill out a few elective classes. Okay? Now here's the important thing about those, a few alternate classes. Now here's the important thing about those alternate classes. And I want you to hear me say this, never, ever, ever put a class down as an alternate unless you would want to take it. Don't just put it down to be getting through the process, because what inevitably happens is if you put that down, you're going to end up getting it probably. And if you get into a class that you have no desire to take whatsoever, we've scheduled the classes, and it is a very difficult process for us to do that and fit everybody into their individual little niche. So when we do that, it's very difficult for us to move you out. In fact, it's impossible for us to move all of you out. So you will end up staying in that alternate class. We try to get you in as many classes that you request as possible, but we do have to service our upperclassmen first because they're graduating, and we will get you in to as many classes as we can that you want, but be aware of the fact that whenever you have an alternate class, make sure that it's a class that you would not mind taking, okay? Does everybody understand that? Okay, I need 2 eyes on me from everybody right now. Everybody understand that? All right, good deal. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Rodgers.
Okay, so like I said, on that sheet, you need to make sure you have your 4 required that you've chosen, and you'll have to have 3 electives as well. That would total 7. So you're going to have 7 total classes next year. So you have 4 required and 3 elective. Now on the alternate, like he said, I would put 3 or 4 alternates down there. And again, those are there for me actually in the summer when I'm scheduling you. If for some reason the schedule doesn't work out, and you don't get the agri-science class you want, or you don't get the foreign language class you want, it's something that you could live with if you did not get that. I work my very hardest all summer to make sure you get what you want, but sometimes I can't help it. The piece of the puzzle is just not there, and it just doesn't happen. So please know that I put 3 down there. Don't put 25 because, that's ridiculous. So just put 3 or 4 alternates down there, and I'll be able to work that out. So again, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. Okay, so that's that page. The biggest thing you need to know about that page is you have to have 7 total classes for your required and your elective. and you have to have the teacher recommendations on there, because that helps us when we sit down with you and meet with your parents, and that gives that teacher input into the decision-making process. Okay, so that's that page, and I'm going to show you something else in a second that will help you with that as well. Okay, turn with me in your curriculum guide to page 9. Okay, on page 9, you'll see that that's where it starts listing the courses. And every course that we require for any students or electives for any students at the high school is listed in this book. It basically tells you what our course number is. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, so don't worry about the course number. What the grade level is, which is going to be important to you, because what grade level has to be on there for you to be able to take that class? 12? No, 9. 9 has to be on there because it has to be for a freshman. So it has to say, like, for instance, on band, what grade level can take that class? Okay, if you're a 9th grader through 12th grader, you can take band. So make sure you pay attention to that grade level. Also, the word that starts with P there is prerequisite. That basically means that this has to be done before you can take this class. So if I'm going to take band, what do I have to do before I take band? Okay, I have to have the band director approval. So where does my band director approve it? What does he do? Okay, he goes back to that first page that we looked at, and he has to sign off on that. Okay, so you have to take in that sheet, write band in your electives, and make sure you get his signature. Okay, so they have to have the signature for any of those classes that says band director approval, or approval of any kind. There are a few classes that we have, and not many for you guys, that have to have an application. I think Success Lab has to have an application, which I have given to someone, so that'll be in your front office. Also, we have journalism applications. We don't have those yet, but I'll be getting those to you right away. So if there are those few classes that have an application, it will be in your front office. You just have to go in there and pick it up and bring that with you to that advising session. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to the prerequisites, suggested grade level, and then of course you're just going to want to read about the class before you take it, so it's something that interests you. Okay, so again, just make sure you pay close attention to all those things. Classes such as geometry, AP Euro or AP Seminar, band, art, strings, orchestra, forensics, journalism, they all have requirements, certain things you have to have. Teacher approval, for instance. And again, we want to emphasize the alternates. Okay, again, I know that can be a little bit confusing, so what I'm giving you next in the other handout, to me, is kind of like, I like to call it the cheat sheet. Okay, it kind of takes all of the freshman classes out of this book and is tailored for you. So on this sheet is every class that's in that book that a freshman can take. There's a lot of classes in there, unfortunately, you cannot take yet. You'll have an opportunity as you get older, but now you cannot. But this divides it up for you. At the top, you have your required classes. You have your English, your math, your science and social studies. And then at the bottom are all your electives, and then you'll see a spot for your alternatives. This is the handout that your advisor will fill out whenever they are meeting with you at the high school, you and your parents. So this is what they'll be looking at. So I like to give it to you because it breaks that down for you. Remember?
What I'll say is this, I mean, if you want to go ahead before the meeting, now you've got your course request form here in the front of your book right here that you're doing, but before you come to the meeting, and it'll make you go a lot quicker, is if you just go ahead, fill out all this information. You can't see it up there, but it's like your name, your address, your phone number, parent's signature, whatever. And then if you will go ahead and circle the ones that you want and that you have over here recommendations for, and then go on down here, because then instead of us looking for the numbers and everything, they're going to be right there by the courses, okay? And include just, you know, you can fill this sheet out, bring it along with your signature sheet to the meeting, and it will go very quick, okay?
Another thing it helps with, I think, is, because remember I made you put CTE on there? That means a career and technical education class. You have to have that by the end of your sophomore year. So that shows you also all the electives that are CTE. So those are the classes that you can take to get that CTE option. And you do have to get that in, so it's a good thing to get that out of the way. And then also you can see up the top where it says required, that's where you have your CTE. And then you have the fine arts or HAFPA. Sometimes the CTE is also the fine arts class, but you do have until you're a junior to get that HAFPA class in. So I know it's a lot of information, but this can hopefully help you. Also shows you the ones that have to have an application. If you'll look at Intro to Journalism or newspaper, see the STAR application. That's a prerequisite where you have to have that application turned in. So it just kind of breaks it down for you. Puts all the freshman classes on one page. Now your teachers at the middle school, most of them have been through this several times. They can answer a lot of these questions and kind of break that down for you, and we really appreciate them taking the time to do that. But again, this is just kind of what I like to call cheating. Cheating in a good way, right? So that just kind of helps you out.
Okay, now these are the promotion requirements for you all the way up through your senior year. Of course, to become a freshman, you have to successfully complete your 8th grade year. But then it changes a little bit, okay? Whenever you become a freshman, to move on through the classes, you have to acquire credits, okay? Credit is acquired from a class by doing what? Passing the class, exactly. You've got to pass the class. Your freshman year, you will have the opportunity to earn 7 credits, okay? Of those 7, there are 4 that you absolutely teetotally must have before we allow you to graduate from Graves County High School. That would be your English credit, English 1 credit, your Algebra 1 credit, or if you've already taken Algebra 1 in middle school, Algebra 2 credit, your Science credit, which would be pre-AP Biology or Integrated Science, and what do you think the last one is? You've done science, done math. Social studies, you've got to have your social studies credit. Thank you very much. Those are the 4 that you absolutely must have before you're allowed to graduate from Graves County High School. You get those 4 plus 1 more, and you'll be classified as a sophomore. Okay? But if you do not, you will still be classified as a freshman. All right? So it's very important from day 1 when you get here that you really hit the ground running and that you do the best you can in your classes, because unlike in years past, you have to pass the class in order to get the credits, and you have to have a certain number of credits to move on through Graves County High School and get you to graduation day. By the time you get to your senior year, you cannot be a senior unless you have 17 credits. You have to have at the very least 17 credits, and a large number of those are required courses, okay? You've got to pass both your elective and your required courses, but you know, the largest chunk of that is going to be your required. And that's just to get to your senior year. In order to graduate from Graves County High School, you have to have more than that, okay?
Okay, just a few tips and things we need to think about. We just like to give you some heads up on things. Do not make plans based on who will be in your class, okay? I know you guys have your certain friends that you like to be with. I know moving to the middle school kind of broke you up a little bit from your friend groups, but you really need to think about that what's best for you when you make your decisions. You may be really, really good at math and really think, oh, I want to take some of these elective classes that help me with math, but maybe your friend is not so good at math. And that's the way it's going to be. You need to think about what's best for you and make your decisions based on what you want to do, not necessarily what your big group of friends want to do, okay? Do not make plans based on who will be your teacher, because I can tell you personally that we change things all summer long, and sometimes even change things after people have picked up their schedule. So you cannot say, well, Mr. Dobson, he's a good, nice teacher. I want to make sure to get his class. We may move Mr. Dobson somewhere else, okay? So don't make plans based on Mr. Dobson. I'm just kidding.
Nobody's ever said that. Number 3, and I just want to highlight this, is make your selection of elective courses based on your career goals. A lot of people get a little bit wigged out by that. You know, here's what we're talking about. You will, at the end of your freshman year, you're going to be asked to pick what's called a career major. And that is an area that you kind of want to focus on studying in order to, you know, prepare for life after high school. Okay? It kind of gives you some courses when you pick that career major that you take in order to prepare for it. And understand this, when you're picking your elective, just because you think you want to be, I don't know, a veterinarian, you start taking the courses. If it's something you totally hate, you can change your career major later on. I think it's an important thing picking a career major after your freshman year, in just as much as finding out what you want to do, sometimes finding out what you don't want to do. You may think, well, I want to go into business, and then you take your first accounting class and be like, I never want to go into business ever, ever, ever. And then you can change your course there and look at something else. So it's, you know, just as good for picking what you want to do as for ruling out what you don't want to do, okay? So don't get wigged out by that. And then, we say this a lot, don't limit yourself early on by taking the easiest route. A lot of students go through Grace K High School, and I'm talking about students that have really high expectations for their life. You know, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an engineer. But they start worrying about, well, I don't want to hurt my grades because I don't want to hurt my chances for a scholarship, or I don't want to hurt the amount of keys money that I'm going to get. And that's valid concern, but at the same time, you got to understand this. Whenever we send students from here to college, one of the biggest numbers we watch is the retention rate in college and other post-secondary schools. And students that choose to take the easiest route, they may graduate from Grace K High School with a good GPA and a lot of keys money, but they may not have all the skills necessary to be successful in college. And it's those students that have taken the more rigorous load that when they get to college, I mean, and Ms. Rodgers can attest to this, we have students that really load up on some of the hardest classes, don't always get the best grades, but when they get to college, they end up staying in college, and they end up being very successful in college. And sometimes they're able to clip out or opt out of some of the lower level classes, graduate sooner, and save thousands of dollars because they really dedicate themselves to rigorous workload. Is that for everybody? No. But if you think it's for you and you are have it in your mind that if you're going to go to college, you need to practice the way you're going to play whenever you leave here.
And the last thing is ask for help. If you, I know this is a lot of information and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know what they're talking about. Ask for help. Call me. I encourage you to tell your parents, I don't care if every single one of you call. I really would rather you call me and get the right answer than to have to guess about it, worry about it, stew about it. Call me and ask. Call the high school number and say, I need to speak to that freshman guidance counselor person, if you can't remember my name, but I'm Miss Rodgers. Call me. That is perfectly fine. Leave me a voicemail. I'll get back with you. Email me. Again, I would rather to make sure that you get the right information.
Okay, and I won't go into a lot of details about the career majors, but I will tell you that our high school, after the freshman year, is divided up into 3 different career academies. And in your freshman year, you're going to be deciding what your career major is, and based on that decision, you'll go into one of those 3 different academies. Those are business, information technology, fine arts, and human services, then math, science, and engineering. More information about those can be found on page 8 of the book. I'm not going to go into a great amount of detail about that just because that's not super important to you right now, but you need to have it in the back of your head that this freshman year is another transitional year, and after this you're going to be moving into an academy that you'll be in for about 3 years. Okay?
And our current freshmen that are in the building right now, the ones that are 9th graders now, that's what we're currently doing with them. We had them to choose a career major for their sophomore year. So you still have a year to think about that, and your elective classes are very helpful in making some of those decisions. Okay, earlier you said don't limit yourself early on, and this is one of the reasons why that's important. Okay, there are separate requirements for honor graduates. Decisions you make now can determine what kind of graduate you will be in the future. Okay, look at page 3 of your curriculum guide. Okay, so if you want to become an honor graduate, that means if you want to graduate with the honor cord on graduation day, if you think that you may want to try to get scholarships in college, if you think that you want to excel and compete for top honors, then you need to take this into consideration. Okay, in order to be an honor graduate, that's by the time you are a senior, that you have to have completed 4 advanced placement courses. Those are AP courses. You have to have 1 in language arts or social studies and 1 in science or math. You do have an opportunity your freshman year to get one of those AP classes done. So you could get your AP Social Studies class done your freshman year. Again, a decision that you guys will make when you meet with your advisor and with your parents. But that is, you can go ahead and start now and doing that. That's why we say don't limit yourself, because you can go ahead and go along that route now. You don't have to, and you still can catch up later on, but you'll have to double up as you keep going. Okay, you must also take pre-cal or AP stats by the time you are a junior, senior. Basically, I'm telling you that because you're going to have to take the upper level math courses if you're going to compete. You have to complete high school coursework with a 3.75 weighted grade point average. So all of your classes, and we'll talk more about GPA a lot your freshman year, but that's a pretty high average there.
I want to jump in real quick and tell you something about AP courses. There is only one AP course that you will be able to take your freshman year. You do not have to, but if you choose to, and that is AP European History. It's the only one we offer freshman year. The GPA on that, you know, most of the time you hear about GPA and you hear the highest you get is a 4.0, right? Well, because AP courses are taught on a more rigorous level, it's a lot like being a freshman in college. We grade those on a 5.0 scale. So we actually kind of up the amount of points that you are able to earn, and we make it where, you know, if you were, say, if you got a B in AP Euro, you may got the B in the class, but on your report card it will be reflected as an A, okay? And if you were to get an A, it would be reflected as a higher A. And I tell you that to tell you this, there are some of you out there that are already thinking, oh, I want to try to be valedictorian or I want to try to be salutatorian. If you want to be one of them, and I'm talking to that small number just for just a second. If you want to be one of them, you're going to probably take that class your freshman year just because it gives you the ability to earn more points, and you're basically in a competition with every other person in this room for that spot. And if you can accrue the most points during high school and get the highest GPA, then you will, be, of course, be rewarded at the end. Now, for everybody else, you know, I'd love for everybody that wanted to take it and was able to do well in it to take it, but you know, it's not going to. You're going to have multiple options in the future to take that class and other classes. So that's the main thing I want you to understand. The GPA for that class, because it is a little bit more difficult, it is weighted. Okay.
And also no grade below a 78, so you can see our standards there are high. And you won't be able to make too many of those 78 grades to be able to fall in that category. Also, you must meet all other graduation requirements. We have things like community service and other things that come into play later on. As well as students with the highest GPA are qualified to compete for Valor Sal. Like he said, it is a competition, and you've got to be thinking about what other classes that other students may be taking if you are going to compete for that. Not everybody is going to, and that's okay too, but if you are, you need to be informed. Another big question, should I take a foreign language class? You do have to have 2 years of a foreign language in order to meet pre-college curriculum. Some people think that maybe eventually they're even going to change that to 3, but nothing's official on that yet, still just 2. If you took your Spanish at the freshman or 8th grade level, then you're obviously going to want to take the 2nd level at the high school. So it has to be Spanish 1, Spanish 2, or French 1 and French 2. A lot of students think, well, I'll just take Spanish 1 and then take French 1. No, it has to be in the same foreign language, the actual language. That to be 1 and 2 in one or the other. And we also have the pre-AP options. If you took your Spanish at the 8th grade, that's really to us considered a pre-AP Spanish class. And our expectation is that you would take the pre-AP Spanish too. But again, you're going to have your teacher recommendations for input in that decision-making process.
Okay, these are the science options. And like I told you earlier, there are a couple different ways we can go with science. Option 1 is if you came in as a freshman and you want to take pre-AP biology. Now this is going to be for the student that is going to want to, try to be an undergraduate or trying to, compete for valedictorian and salutatorian. You take pre-AP biology, and then the following year you be in pre-AP chemistry, and then the next year you be in physics. That is the sequence for that student, okay? Option 2 begins your freshman year with integrated science, and then gives you the option in your sophomore year to take biology or pre-AP biology, And in your junior year, you take either chemistry or pre-AP chemistry. And if you wanted to after that, your senior year, even though you don't have to have that fourth science, you could take physics, okay? Just realize that the decisions you make now, just like with everything else, can kind of impact your future. And that's why we want you to be aware of the kind of the two tracks that we're going on with regard to science. Okay?
With the science, the pre-AP track, what you really need to know is it's hard to come back down with that track. So if you take pre-AP biology your freshman year, it's really hard to step down. You really kind of have to move on to pre-AP chemistry. Another big kicker with that one is physics. Physics your junior year. So again, just kind of know that once you start on that track, you're really, it's difficult, not impossible, but it's difficult to step back down. So that's important to know. And also if you're on that pre-AP track, that opens up a door for you to take another AP class. And of course, if you're competing for that valedictorian salutatorian, you know, that comes into play because you have an extra class option that can help you to get more points.
Yeah, I told you a little bit about the AP classes, and just to kind of highlight once again, they are courses that actually have to be taught at a certain high level in order for us to be able to teach them, and we're sanctioned by the national board, college board, and we have to turn in our curriculum and everything, and they say, okay, it's rigorous enough, you can teach it. Our teachers have to have special training to be able to teach these AP courses. And what AP courses are basically, at the end of the year, you have the opportunity to take the AP test. And what that means is this: if I have gone through that year taking this course, and I take the AP test, it scores like this. If you get a NA, which basically means you didn't even write your name on the test, or a 0, or a 1, or a 2, you took the test, congratulations, I hope it was a good experience for you. But if you get a 3, or a 4, or a 5, then you will be awarded college credit. And that's why it's kind of a big deal, because you can take this test at the end of the year and potentially save yourself 3 hours of courses at a college or university. And not only that, 3 hours of courses at a college or university costs money. Like last time I looked, about a 3-hour course at Murray State was right around $1,000. So for every AP course that you were to take during your high school career and pass, that's about $1,000 if you go to Murray, $1,000 less that you'll be giving Murray State and that you'll be keeping instead. Okay? Like I told you earlier, they're weighted on 5.0 scale. And, you know, first one you'll be able to take is the AP European History. If you're uncertain, and we do have a little bit of option there in the AP European History. If you feel like you can do a good job with it without any extra help, and your middle school teacher feels the same way, then you can take just the AP European History course. However, if you feel like, man, I'd like to take it, but I probably need a little extra help, you know, some strategies on how to be successful in it, we do offer an AP seminar class as an elective. So if you want to use one of your elective credits and take that seminar class, that is an option, okay? But you will need to fill out for that seminar class there whenever you register.
The seminar is usually strongly recommended for students when they do take that AP Euro, but you'll see that it kind of gets difficult because I said, okay, you need to take your foreign language, you need to take your CTE, now you're recommending I take the seminar. You do have to kind of just make some decisions based on what you think you can do and what's going to work out for you. So it's definitely a decision-making process. Okay, also, just like to point out that you will have to have a math every year with the students who are taking Algebra 1 now at the middle school, or geometry even at the middle school. You'll still have to take a math every year at the high school. So that means, you know, you're going to have to take upper level math. There will be AP classes your junior, senior year if you're doing that now. So basically you're making a commitment that you're going to accelerate in math. It's not that you're getting it done with early, you're just going to continue to have to take upper level math. Okay, as I told you earlier, Success Lab is kind of like what we used to call when I was in school way back when, like a study hall. But again, there's an application process to that. You have to have your teachers to fill that out. Basically, if you're going to take that Success Lab class, you're going to have to use that time wisely. We want someone who's going to be in there, who's going to be working. And we don't let a lot of people into Success Lab, but if you know you're playing basketball and doing this and doing that and just really need that time, then you might want to try to get that application. But again, it's going to come down to, okay, I still have to take my CTE, I still have to take this AP seminar. Sometimes it just doesn't fit. But again, it's a decision and it is an option. We also talked about the CTE, fine arts. If you can get that in, that's good as well.
And I want to talk real quick about the military service leadership class. We're partnered with the United States Army, and we have a program called the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, or JROTC. Basically what it is one period a day, you will come over here. When you're here as a student at Grace State High School, you will go out to our building out on the football field, and that is our JROTC classroom. The teacher, or instructor I should say, is Lieutenant Paul Cowell. And Lieutenant Cowell, he is Lieutenant Colonel Cowell. He's a retired Lieutenant Colonel from the United States Army. And Colonel Cowell will be your instructor, and you'll learn about everything from military history to, right now they are actually preparing to do a physical fitness component and training in shooting air rifles and whatnot. And basically, it's kind of like you are in a little bit of a boot camp, so to speak. If you're lucky as a freshman in that you're coming into this as a freshman, because if you go through 4 years JROTC, graduate from high school, and decide to go into the military, upon going into the military, most people start out at a certain pay level. If you completed the JROTC program, you will be up 2 pay levels on everybody else. So if you are thinking right now in your future, I would like to be in the military, or maybe would like to be in the military, going through this program does not mean you graduate from Grace State High School the very next day, you step on the train, you head out to Paris. That's not what it means. But what it does mean is it's giving you the opportunity to get prepared here, and then after you graduate, if you want to go into the military, it's going to give you a leg up on everybody else that's going in. Okay? We also have, and we have a lot of, right now, it's a co-ed program. We have, our classes are young men and women together in those classes, but we do have the option next year. Colonel Cowell wanted to offer a all-girls class, and ladies, if you'd be interested in being a part of that class, whenever you sign up, you can sign up for the all-girls section. But understand this, it really doesn't matter. You're going to get the same thing in that section that you would in any other section. And we will try to oblige your schedule, but if we are unable to make your schedule work with that class, we'll let you know about that, okay?
And we do have a lot of girls that participate. I think he was just thinking that we might even get more girls to participate if it was just an all-girl class. So again, it's just something we're trying out. If you're a girl and you want to be in the co-ed class, you can choose that too. So it's really up to you. Also, if you're going to take the junior, I still call it junior guard, but junior ROTC class, you do not have to take PE. So we have our health as a half credit option. This is new, teachers, where we offer the health as a half credit and the PE as a half credit. So if you are taking that physical component of junior ROTC, you do not have to take PE. You only take the half credit health. But then you have to have another half credit class to go in with that, because we do have some half credit things that will match up. But if you do take the junior guard, then you do not have to take the PE, but you will have to take the health.
You still can if you want to. You still can if you want to, but you do have the option of taking a half credit.
Yeah,
you
don't
everybody
mind.
write that in your front cover.
So open up your book to the front
Ready? I'm going to
cover.
tell you what's right. JROTC, junior ROTC, JROTC equals no PE. Because you'll hear it and then you'll get home and think, oh, I got to take this. Okay, so if you're taking junior ROTC, you will not take PE. Will you still take health?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so just write that know when you go home, you're talking to your parents. If that's something you want to do, you won't have to take PE.
We do have some students that do still take the PE option, but what you have to realize is, you may have to do your PT that day and run 2 miles and then come back to gym class and run 2 miles. And so we don't want to overdo it on that. And sometimes you can have that class back to back. So again, if you're taking the junior guard, you probably, you may not want to do the PE option, but you still have to get your health because that's a graduation requirement. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, up here are the CTE requirements. One of these classes must be taken in your freshman or sophomore year. So we just wanted you to look at this slide and look. These are all the options. You need to take one of those your freshman or sophomore year. Okay? Now I'd recommend trying to get it taken early for 2 reasons. One, you get that requirement out of the way, but 2, let's say you go in and you take agri-science your freshman year and you find out, I really like agri-science. I want to continue on in this. We've got 3 more years that you can take electives that are related to that CTE course you took as a freshman. Okay? So that's kind of what you need to be thinking about. Getting it in early and using it as an opportunity to test the waters and see, hey, maybe this is something that I want to continue doing for the rest of my time at Grace Bay High School.
Just remember on that little cheat sheet with those CTE classes, they have the CTE in parentheses beside them, so that can kind of help you to locate those. Okay, so that's about it. We're going to wrap up a little bit. Again, like I said earlier, you will be contacted by your homeroom teacher within a week. We're going to encourage them to talk to you within a week. Sometimes, especially, if it's a basketball coach, we've got tournaments going on, sometimes it takes a little longer. So please be patient. Don't freak out about it. Again, we're going to encourage that they get in touch with you right away. Sometimes if you guys change your telephone numbers, that's a problem. But just try to sit on that. Your parent must attend this meeting before your schedule will be entered. And again, I meant to point this out earlier, I don't think I did. It doesn't matter if you're the first person up here to register or the last person up here to register. It will make no difference in what particular class you get. They will not get first choice. You will not miss out on anything. I don't even schedule to the summertime. So again, no major rush on that. We want you up here. We want to get you here as soon as possible, but no one will get any preference over anybody else, okay? I guarantee you, because I'm the one that does the scheduling, so it won't happen. I won't even actually start creating the schedule to the summertime. Okay, but it does help us to know how many teachers we need to teach particular classes, etc. Okay, you must bring your completed registration sheet, so both the booklet, the inside page, as well as your other little cheat sheets helpful. Make sure you have all your registration information with you when you come to meet with your advisor. Okay, your schedule will be available in July, so we'll have a Camp GCHS this July.
We'll have a 1-day orientation this summer. We always call it Camp GCHS, where the entire freshman class will be invited to come in, and during that day, we'll do some fun things, but we'll also go through a practice day where you go through your schedule. We'll feed you, and there'll be door prizes, and everybody that comes always has a good time, and it makes a big difference because the ones that come, when they show up on the first day of school, they don't look like freshmen. They look like they know where they're going. They look pretty much like they have it all figured out. But the ones that don't come that day, they're trying to figure out where the locker is, trying to figure out how to open their locker, trying to figure out where room D05 is, this, that, and other. So it really helps if you come that day. The last thing I'll tell you, and that'll be toward the end of July, right before we come back. The last thing I'll tell you is the PowerPoint that we just went through, and I know it's got a lot of information on it, it's going to be on our website, on the Grace County High School website, along with copies of this. So if you got home and you lost and you lose yours somewhere, you can print up another copy of this. And also, this presentation that we did today is being videotaped, so if you get confused about a few things that we've told you today, you can watch it again at home. You can please tell your parents about it. Let them watch it at home where they can kind of get an idea of things that we're talking about before they come in for that meeting, okay?
The link will be under, you'll go to GCHS and then there's a guidance link. So just remember, anything at all, remember, oh, it's Miss Rodgers, she's the guidance counselor. It's who I call, that's where I can find the link. Okay, so you go under guidance and we have a freshman page. And you'll be there, and I'll put for 8th graders. So you'll see 8th graders, but you're kind of an 8th grader, kind of a freshman to us. So that's good. Just go to that page. That's where we'll be.
Okay. And I'll try to also maybe see if they can just put a direct link on our website too. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
Your teachers may or may not have given you the Wall Whisperer, the online account for you to go to and post any questions. So you get home tonight and you're talking to your parents and you've got questions after you start to sift through it, put that on that bulletin board in both Ms. Rodgers and Mr. Dobson, and then Ms. Williams, Mr. Williams, and I will be able to go on there and answer any questions that you may have. Okay? You do not have to put your name. However, if you put your name on there, I know who to give the answer to, okay? If it's just a general question, post it, and we'll get back to you on there as well. Do not come down to the counseling office every period with your question. Put it on that bulletin, okay? And we'll put, English teachers, if you'll post that on your whiteboards, what that account is, so that way if you go in there and you got a question, you put it there, okay?
I know we're a little pressed for time, but at the same time, I want to make sure that we've got a pretty good understanding. So if there are any questions, if you know, I asked you to write those down as we go through. Is there anything that, as we have gone through here, that you don't quite understand? If there are questions, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll try to answer them. If we don't know the answer, we'll make something up, okay? Go ahead. Community Technical Education. Basically, CTE courses are courses that relate directly to vocations, jobs that you might be going into immediately after high school. And so those CTE courses, we have to give you an opportunity to see what a vocational class like that looks like. And so we need to do it during our freshman, sophomore year for the same reason I told you a second ago, that you may get into agri-science, find out, wow, I really love agri-science. What else is there in this field? And so that I can take ag engineering, I can take greenhouse management, I can take turf management, all those other electives during my sophomore, junior, and senior year, that if I'd never taken it in my freshman year, I would have never known that that's something I might like to do. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, sir. Hold on just a second. Excellent question. If you want to do it, like you're gung-ho, I want to be in the junior ROTC, you need to put that down as an elective. If that's what you want to do, you need to put that down as an elective. If you're like, you know, I'd really rather have this other class, but if I don't get in that other class, I wouldn't mind being in the ROTC. Then you need to put it down under alternate. I will tell you this right now. In my mind, ROTC is never an alternate class. You either want to do it or you don't want to do it. So, you know, it's, if you are thinking, I might like to do it, then you probably don't need to do it. You know, it's one of those that I'm kind of either all in or all out. And I will say this, it is probably the best program that we have put on this campus since this school started. I really think it is, because it gives an opportunity for students that might not have found an niche anywhere else to find a place where they not only enjoy going, but they excel at it, and it really does shape them into a very responsible citizen that's going to go out there and help to defend our country one day. Yes, Ms. Christie.
Dobson, I know Mr. Neal knows that his geometry class at the middle school, 8th graders, will move on to Algebra 2, correct? But what about our Algebra 1 students in 8th grade? Have they changed the sequence in math, or do they need to go directly into geometry classes?
Right now, they're going to, as far as I know, it has not changed. That was still kind of a discussion. But whenever you come in, you know, the sheets right now reflect the way it is as of right now. When you come in, though, we will let you know in case something else has changed. I have not seen anything that...
The only thing that I know has changed is a lot of times we try to keep those Algebra 2 students together. We're not going to do that. We're going to disperse them throughout all the pre-AP Algebra 2 classes. We're not keeping them as a unit anymore.
Okay. Other questions? Go back row. Yell really loud where I can hear you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, good question. Once again, on that recommendation sheet that you have in the front of your book, and if you want to reference that real quick, the teacher recommendation you're going to be getting there is going to come from your middle school teacher, okay? It's going to come from your middle school teacher. So when you come to meet with a high school teacher, when you bring your mom or your dad, parent or guardian with you to come meet with the high school teacher, you're going to bring that sheet, and it's going to tell us what was recommended over at the middle school that you take, okay? Does that mean that is going to be what you take? Not necessarily, but it gives us the best idea of what you need to be taking, and it leads us to have a discussion with you as to what those classes that you're preparing to register for consist of, where you can make a more educated decision, okay? Yes, sir?
You don't, like, for when you're, like, in classes, you don't have, like, class early, like, how would I do a recommendation?
So you are a freshman, you have not taken Spanish, but you want to take it as a freshman, okay? You don't have to have a recommendation on an elective like that, okay? We're talking about on our core classes, like our math, science, English, and social studies classes, and if you have already been involved in, say, Spanish over at the middle school, we need to know, do you need to continue on into the next level of Spanish? But if you are going to be going into a Spanish class, your freshman year and you've never taken it before, you don't have to have that. Yes?
Students who have Spanish this year do have to have a recommendation for next year.
Yes. Now, that's Spanish students that are currently in middle school do have to have a recommendation for next year. Yes. Okay. But those that have never taken it do not. Yes?
My sister said that if you don't take Spanish, or if you have to take Spanish in high school, you have to, or can you just take French 1 and French 2 when you have 2 years of foreign language?
No, you can do that. You don't have to take, look, you don't have to take Spanish, French, or Pig Latin, anything in high school. You don't have to take anything. You can take nothing at all with regard to language in high school. But it is recommended to be college career ready, that you take 2 credits. Now, let me explain why. Because whenever you go to college, if you've taken 2 courses in high school, it may, and you get to college, you may not have to take it at all. Or you may, instead of taking 4 credits of it, you may only have to take 2. Okay? But you don't have to take Spanish. We also have a French program. You take French, and our French program goes French 1, French 2, AP French, everything else. You can do that route as well. Okay? But Spanish is just one option. Okay? The reason why we have so many people take Spanish is because it's one of our older programs, and also because there's a lot more opportunities to speak Spanish in this country than there are to speak French. Okay?
If you do decide to go to college and don't have those 2 years in, it can cost you a lot of time and a lot of money. So again, if you, depending on where you want to go, you can go to WKCPC and it not be required, but then you transfer to Murray and you don't have your foreign language and you're 20-something years old, you have to take it. So it's just a really good option to get that done when you're younger. Just get it out of the way and go ahead and take it. But it doesn't matter if it's what language it is, whatever we offer, you just have to have 2 years in it.
Any others? Yes. Then sign up for both of them. I mean, and if there's room in the class, if there's room, you can do that. It's going to be the difference of a half a credit class.
Just know if you do that, you can't come to me, 3 months in and say, oh, this is just too hard, too much running. I'm just going to say, sorry. Okay, so you need to really think about that. And, we encourage you to do it, but there just won't be any changes because we won't be able to do that with half credits.
You have to, before you leave Grace Bay High School, before you enter your junior year, you have to have a fine arts elective or the HAPFA class, which is History, Appreciation, and Visual Performing Arts. You have to have one of those. That is a requirement for Grace Bay High School. Okay. Yes? Any Latin? Say after class, I'll tell you. Any others? Yes, sir. Whoa, whoa, hold on. Just give me a second. Shh. Because once again, when other people are talking, this may be a question that you hadn't even thought of. And y'all done, first of all, y'all done awesome. This has been, and I'm not even going to be ashamed to say that this is the best group that I've ever had in here for orientation. Y'all have been such attentive listeners. You've been quiet. You've asked great questions. And we are just tickled to death that we can't wait to get you over here next year, okay? So let's continue the streak. Because I want to hear this question, and then we're going to, Mr. Williams, need to head out here. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, excellent question. Like woodworking, those classes, we do have those classes. They are not here at Graves County High School. That is part of our partnership with Mayfield Graves County Area Technology Center, which is over on the campus of Mayfield High School. There are some limited classes available to freshmen, but I don't think that carpentry or welding or anything is available until your sophomore year. So what you need to do is, I would seriously make sure to take note of what, if any, prerequisites there are for those classes for next year, and make sure you have those standards met this year, or when we're sitting here this time next year, you can register for and get into one of those classes.
Yeah, vocational classes like carpentry and welding, they're very competitive these days, so they really look at your freshman grades, how you do, and your behavior, because obviously they don't want you over there with a nail gun if you're going to get in trouble. So again, make sure your grades and everything are really good your freshman year, because they look at that stuff.
All right. Once again, thank you all very much for your attention. Y'all been great. Give yourself a round of applause. We're looking forward to seeing you next year, and I'm going to turn you back over to Mr. Williams. And what do you want?
Okay, hey, thank you guys.